Okay, we are live. We're sorry we're late by 4 minutes. We had a heated SoFi Weekly podcast right before this. I dragged Steven, who doesn't have any more coffee, to do this one with us as well. So thank you, Steven, for being here at Dividend. Isn't your coffee cold, or is it still?
No, I made it right before that podcast, so it's staying somewhat warm.
But in general, do you like drinking warm coffee, or does it need to be boiling for you? Or you can
lukewarm's fine. I don't hate. I'm good.
Okay, gotcha. Chris is about to join in a second. He should be joining in a minute. And did I not send the link to you guys? Oh no, I did. Chris acted like he doesn't have the link. I sent it. Okay, let me send it again. We're gonna get into Palantir Weekly. A bunch of deals happened on Palantir this week. 2 main deals. And so before we go into that, thank you 32 people for being here. Let's talk a little bit about the macro for the first 10 minutes and keep going from there. Steven, S&P went up to 408. I think it ended today at like 404 or something. Jerome Powell seems like he's being a little bit more dovish. Chris, we're just doing a little macro for the first 10 minutes. What are your thoughts, Steven, on what's going on in the overall economy?
I think the market is grasping at anything that they can take as a dovish comment at the moment. I don't think the speech that we heard was nearly as dovish as what it really was. My own opinion, I felt it was still fairly hawkish and didn't give us enough insight into 2023 and what they're thinking. And the market rallied huge off of 1 or 2 comments out of that whole speech. So who knows what's going to happen? Are we going to see a Santa Claus rally? I think there's a good chance of it, but look, I don't invest for the short term, and I think there's just too many variables right now to make any dissertation about what's going to happen in 2023. We need to see how a few things unfold, and I want to see I hate going by the inflation numbers because it is a backward-looking indication, but I'm more worried about the energy markets. I'm more worried about oil going back, or Brent going back to 120. And I think that's going to be very bad if that happens.
Okay, Sachin, your thoughts on what's going on in the macro?
I mean, I agree with Steven. I mean, I don't know what Jerome Powell said. I thought it was bearish than bullish, but the market. Jerome Powell has said things like this, but his action doesn't change so fast. We have seen several times he said initially like the inflation, maybe transitory inflation may come, but the time they started raising rates for it was too late. So he's the kind of a person who set up a stage, see how the response is, and then he takes the action. I don't think any of the macro element that was causing this current situation has changed. I mean, it's pretty much same. The Europe is still in mess. Yes, the oil price has decreased over the time, but it's not the price. It's all about supply and inventory, which is still very tight. Okay. Overall, in terms of dollar, there has been some softening of dollar. I mean, I live in Forest. I use ringgit, so it's very sensitive for me, like because I get paid in dollars or ringgit different times. For next month, I mean, I understand that there is going to be a lot of activity because many people are going to book profits on a lot of traditional sectors, and this is a time where people do the rotation in the funds so they try to look for the companies and sectors that are too beaten but macro looking okay. So I don't expect any immediate crash until and unless there is any geopolitical event of black swan nature, but I'm extremely bearish overall. I was lucky that in these 2 days pump I was able to close a lot of my Palantir short puts with decent profit, and I'm waiting for the next opportunity to open another set of my monthly Palantir puts. So I mean, I don't think this is bottom. Having said that, I mean, I was also looking for the evidence that what if I'm wrong. Okay, and I saw that that S&P has moved above 200-day moving average. Can it stay there for 30-40 days? That's something I would start thinking if I'm wrong. I also saw that so normally when you look for like long-term investing, like a low noise investing, I think I always believe a lot in terms of 200-week simple moving average. That was the bottom for NDX in 2002. that bottom is still maintaining well. Okay, so until and unless I see that an event that we are breaching 200-day weekly moving average, I will not expect a massive catastrophic event. This happened in 2008, like when it crossed, it really went down on that part. So that is, to me, is a signal that is, are we going to stay down for long, or are we really going into some sort of catastrophic downturn or a crash, like something similar to what we saw in GFC in October in 2008. Back to you, Amit.
I was gonna ask Chris his opinion, but I guess he left as well. Yeah, there he is. Chris, your thoughts on some of this macro stuff?
I think we're living in bizarro world, man. Last 2 years have been bizarro world, right? Where everything is kind of flipped. Good news is bad news, bad news is good news. So usually when the economy adds jobs above expectations, people are like, oh my God, yeah, the economy is doing really well. No, in bizarro world, that means Jerome Powell is going to keep raising interest rates. So it means that everything should dump. And then last year, it was the opposite, where it was like everyone's losing their jobs. Hooray! Jerome Powell is going to do more QT because he's going to protect the economy. So it's a little weird. Like your traditional like economic indicators don't exactly play out the way that you're hoping. So like right now, for the longest time, they had a problem because inflation wasn't high enough. It wasn't hitting their 2% goal. Now they have the opposite problem where the inflation is high. So they have to do so. So right now, I think there's just so much volatility out there. But this is, I think, a great time to start looking for companies that are resilient against macroeconomic conditions. So if your business or business model can survive this kind of environment where you have so much uncertainty everywhere, that means that you actually have a good product out there that's going to be able to sustain itself in the good times, right? So it's almost like if you can survive during the bad times, that means that you'll thrive in the good times. So I'm primarily looking for companies that are doing that. And yeah, I don't know. I really don't know much about the macro, how things are going to play out, because it's all going to depend on the data that keeps coming out. Like next month, we could get a really good CPI number, in which case the Fed might, like loosen their tightening a little bit, or pause their rate rises. In which case, if the next month after that inflation starts to creep up again because everyone's got a job, everyone's looking, and wage inflation climbs up, that means that now they've got to tighten again. So this is one of those times where it's anyone's guess. Like you can't, to try to forecast what's going to happen next year is next to impossible. So what do you do when things are so unpredictable? Well, the best thing you can do is just keep your eye on the prize and invest in things that are super safe, super secure, have a large cash position so that when things change and turn around, you have the liquidity in order to buy up things on the cheap. And I think that's where I am with the macro.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yes, you can. Dividend streams.
Do you find that it is interesting, to say the least, that it seems like so many people are actually paying attention to Fed speeches and all these other things? I mean, you go back to 2015 or 2010 or 2005, and granted, it could be because of Twitter and social media and the speed of information getting out there, but I don't really remember a time when there was this much engagement around economic indicators or other things outside of industry professionals.
I think there is a financial community online in the tunes of, I would say on Twitter, probably around 10 million people are part of FinTwit. And the reason I'm trying to, not pulling this number out of my ass, I look at some of the biggest influencers, they have a couple 100,000 followers. If they're a basic person, much less if they're like mainstream media, CNBC, Fox Business, they're up in the millions. So FinTwit has a lot of people talking about financial Twitter, just like other part, like anime Twitter. I mean, Japan is one of Twitter's largest markets. There's, that stuff never shows up in our feed because we don't care about that stuff, but that's a big part of Twitter. And then financial YouTube, I think 2021 gave precedence to the fact that people want to consume CNBC type of level content from average people talking in their basements. And the Meet Kevins of the world, the Jeremys of the world, they really propelled that niche over the past 2 years. So I think there's a growing community that's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger of people that care about it, which is which is interesting, because it presents an opportunity for us to get our voices out there and talk about this stuff.
And Robinhood is basically gamified investing, right? Where the access to be able to
Somebody
invest and
explain
risk
to me
and
why
gamble.
anybody uses Robinhood, please. I don't understand.
It's super easy.
I told you
and
on the last
convenient.
podcast.
Yeah.
There's
Yes,
confetti.
confetti. That's not an actual
No.
reason. I'm
It's
not saying it's their platform. I'm just saying that if it's free, why wouldn't you use Thinkorswim or E-Trade Pro or one of those platforms?
because a lot of
So let me
it's
make
a very
a
simple platform. That's why.
It's so sleek, bro. Like, look at this. Like, this is dope. The user interface, everything. It's a great UI. This is Silicon Valley products. It's great. It's awesome.
Download Thinkorswim. Use it for 2 days.
First of all, what kind
I
of
love
Thinkorswim?
Thinkorswim.
Why would I think before I swim? Like, what are we talking about? What's going on?
So I have a different view on like why this information is disseminated so fast. I think there is also personal bias from all of us. 5-6 years back, we may not be that active investor as of today. So this is true that the investing has become more collaborative. There is more information. There is fast consumption. But in our personal lives, we have also become a better and more involved investor over 5-6 months. So basically, there are two factors that suddenly we are also sitting with the community who is taking more concern about economic indicators. Now, when I talk to people and colleagues who are in industry and they are mostly passive investors, they still don't give a lot of focus on what Fed is saying or not. Their idea is just, something is happening on the side. So there's a shift that happened in our life, and then there is a shift, of course, in a broader macro that investing has become more accessible. And as like Chris and Amit and Steven has said, that there is a community that is more active, but still there is a very large community that still don't give shit what Fed is doing. Their idea is just their relationship manager is managing their money. They have ETFs and index. There's a lot of community that is still out there. And we over the time have moved more from that community to this community. So for us, the impact is more accentuated. Back to you.
And it's also important to understand that from a media perspective, like TMZ turns Brad Pitt into this like figure that like is constantly covered, and there's engagement and there's like attention. For us in the financial community, it's Cathie Wood, it's Jerome Powell, it's Jim Cramer. It's like these are people that you talk about and they drive attention, and their opinions kind of matter, even if their opinions are not necessarily the best. And I think that's just pure financial media. It's just now average people like us can get 114 people to come on a Friday night to listen about these thoughts, which wouldn't have happened 3 years ago. I just don't think the attention would have been there for it. So it's cool. Let's just talk about stuff. Having said that, we got some deals on Palantir. I'm going to share my screen real quick. If you guys are not following this account, Daily Palantir, I would highly recommend following it. Palantir announces a collaboration with Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin and Palantir are announcing a collaboration focused on delivering modern software to support today's and tomorrow's Navy combat systems by leveraging the deep technical experience of LMT and Palantir's Apollo platform. The collaboration focuses on driving innovation and working closely with the U.S. Navy to modernize its combat systems for its surface fleet. Lockheed Martin and Palantir have come together to solve some of the most complex challenges, and Apollo enables a technique of software development and delivery called autonomous deployment, which will be the core feature utilized in this partnership with Lockheed Martin. Initial thoughts, we'll start with Steven on this partnership and how you see it setting a foundation going forward.
I want to know why Chris's name is not Darth Chris right now.
Because the other Chris is not here. There's no point. I'll start off on this one, because this is actually very, very bullish for Palantir, because at the end of the day, they're defined.
Wait, that's why he's not Darth Chris, because he has a bullish thing to say.
No, hold on. Don't
See
worry.
that I knew it.
Darth Chris is coming soon, but not in this case. No, for Lockheed Martin is a defense prime. Having any sort of relationship with them is amazing, because that means that gives Palantir an opportunity to build upon this relationship for joint contracts in the future for multiple things. If the software that Palantir is providing to Lockheed Martin and they find real value out of it, dude, that just means that Lockheed Martin has a symbiotic relationship with Palantir, right? So it all becomes kind of like a great thing. And also Lockheed Martin has a lot of, how do I say this without sounding too political? Puppet strings in Washington, D.C. So all the complaining, all the other stuff that some of these other people do, Lockheed Martin has lobbyists that can lobby for not only themselves, but for Palantir alongside. So right now there's defense contractors out there that try to insulate like themselves from any sort of competition. Well, the fact that Palantir is able to kind of breach that wall of competition and be on the other side is a very, very good thing for Palantir. So I think this is a great deal. It just goes to show that if Lockheed Martin could have done this by themselves, they would have. But they chose instead to just partner with Palantir, which tells you that the software is actually good, that it's actually worth it. Otherwise, Lockheed Martin actually has the money to develop this thing by itself if they really wanted to, right? But they found it that, hey, they don't want to commit the time, they don't want to commit the resources to do the R&D and, do all the testing, right? To get it to the point where Palantir already has a refined product. So once again, this is like the Trojan horse that Palantir needed to get into the defense contracting space that's going to let them expand out their business.
So I want to expand on what Chris said because it was all really good points. And you look at a name like Lockheed, and it just goes to show you that we are gaining the biggest companies that have the war chest to build out the platforms, and they're not going to because it's not worth their time. You look at the deal with Exxon that they just did. You look at the deals with the other conglomerates that they've done, BP, Kinder Morgan. I mean, these are companies that have the war chest, that have the means, and they're using Palantir for a reason. And you look at the amount of contracts that Palantir has gotten with the government over the past 2 years. You look at what is still up for grabs under the JEDI contract. This only entrenches them even further across the military-industrial complex. And it, to me, even though the aspects of the deal monetarily or with the years or the really granular detail wasn't delivered in a news release that I've seen, I think it's very bullish. The fact that we are now in the same sentence with Lockheed, we're going to be integrated on some of their systems, it is huge because you never know how that can piggyback into additional contracts. And that's what it is right now. It's getting more contracts. And if this goes the Skywise route or the Hyundai Heavy route of actually building a coexisting platform, this could have ripple effects 5-10 years down the road still. I mean, this is very big.
Sachin?
So I think I agree with both Chris and Steven. My view is that why Lockheed Martin has gone for Palantir, because they already tried building software in-house in different palettes and money. I mean, this is what these big companies try to do, and they realize they can't get close to it. Having money is not the only solution. Actually, having too much money is a problem. See, the co-founder from Microsoft started his journey for space long before Elon Musk. He had more money than Elon Musk. Okay. He literally didn't get anywhere. Bill Gates tried to change the world and renewables and everything. He was the richest man on the world. He was 100% committed to all these ventures. Where did he get? I think outside the effort he has made in terms of vaccine propagation throughout the world, I think he didn't achieve that kind of result. So having money, I think these people in the Lockheed Martin, they realize that they can burn a lot of money. They have already tried. See, Lockheed Martin is with the government for 60 years. They are with government even before Silicon Valley existed. Okay, so the software was provided to government even before Silicon Valley existed. So I'm 100% sure that these companies have tried building their software internally, but they also have realized that they cannot bring the nimbleness and the thinking what Silicon Valley brings. The challenge for them is that if they work with very large companies, there is always a power play situation that can emerge. The typical Silicon Valley company can also pull the plug because of their policies. Sometimes we don't want to do this with good defense and government. With Palantir, they have a trusted partner. They know they are good. They know they are deep with government. They know their policies. They are not going to pull it out because this is one of their founding principles, and they have excellent product. And having Palantir on their side, see what is happening on the US defense front. They are looking for to robust themselves against adversaries like China at this particular point. And the use of technology in China is very strong, and it makes sense for China also because China has to become superpower when US exists, USSR, I mean Russia exists as of today. So for them, they can take that leap by using a lot of technology. So the only way you are going to counter China is by incorporating more and more technology, that is in terms of software and AI. And I think Lockheed Martin is absolutely on the spot here, that they have a partner they know they are going to trust for another 15-20 years. Most important thing is, as Chris mentioned, the kind of lobby these companies have, yeah, I think it's whole different level. They are connected to so many people. You will hardly see anyone actually complaining from Republicans or Democrat sides about companies like Lockheed Martin. They have business, it doesn't matter who is on the helm. So I think it's extremely bullish. And given the defense budget expansion that is expected in US overall, I think it will bring a lot of business overall. Back to you, Amit.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin gets about $70 billion in revenue per year from defense. Okay, 70 billion. Just think about that. The US total defense spending is around 700 billion. 10% of all defense spending in the United States goes to Lockheed Martin.
What's their market cap? Lockheed Martin, do you know?
150 billion, something like that.
Wait, they get 70 billion a year and their market cap's only 150 billion?
Yeah, it's the
It's a
profit margins are-
manufacturing based business. It's an industrial, heavy industrial business.
Yeah, it's not even. It's 127 billion.
Wow. Okay. Well, one of the other things, speaking of American defense, is Anduril Industries. I don't know if you guys saw it today. They raised 1.48 billion in a Series E funding, valuing the company at 8.48
Sorry, guys.
billion. Sachin,
I
We're gonna-
cannot comment on that. I'm involved
I
in
literally
participating
was
in the
gonna
funding.
say-
So I mean,
Sachin, I didn't know
I mean,
if you were involved in it.
I didn't
but
vet
literally
what
was
is
not
public or
invited.
what is not in terms of information. Have been
Don't
to
even-
data
don't
room,
even
so
change the subject.
so I'll
Yeah,
skip
well-
commenting.
Wait, which
No,
one was it?
just-
What did he say?
The point was, I was bringing up that it's good for American defense because another American defense company got a big round of funding. I think they're valued at almost 9 billion now. Palantir things at like 15 billion, right? So it's from the private public sector. And I had a feeling, Sachin. I had no
Let's
other
just say-
information. I just had a feeling, Sachin.
This is actually good because everybody can see that Sachin didn't tell us anything. So we had no
Sachin
clue.
literally told us nothing.
Yeah, literally told us nothing. We had no idea. But let's just change the subject so we don't put him in an uncomfortable situation.
Okay, so let's go to the next big piece of news today, which was the Cleveland Clinic. I didn't know this place was a thing, but apparently they're like a brand in and of themselves. They're one of the most
North
efficient.
Chris,
Wait a
Please
second.
step
You
up.
don't know Cleveland Clinic?
I didn't know it was like a thing.
Okay, first, let me just clear. It's not a clinic. Okay, it's a hospital system. all
Yes,
right?
yes.
They
Yeah.
call themselves a Cleveland Clinic because when you were tweeting today, like, oh my God, they're integrating with so many clinics. I'm like, no, they're not a clinic. Like, they're hospital systems, but they are.
Yeah.
They're probably number one or number two in terms of the type of quality of care that you're gonna get. They're on
Yeah.
the forefront of research for pretty much everyone. Like, if you work at Cleveland Clinic, you probably are involved in a lot of NIH projects. You're doing a lot of research. A lot of research grants are going that way. You know, they're on the cutting edge of medical care, essentially. So just want to clarify for everyone.
So Palantir partnered with them, 10-year deal, to operationalize their data, make it more effective, faster, give them the tools and capabilities to make patient flows even stronger than they currently are at the Cleveland Clinic doing right now. Bullish or not bullish? Is this good news, bad news? Doesn't matter. Steven, what do you think?
well, I'm waiting for Chris to come out with why it's bearish, but yeah, how can it be anything but bullish at this point? I want to hear the bearish take.
So I wouldn't say it's bearish, but it's not the hype. The reason why I responded on Twitter is because too many people were hyping this up, like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, they're partnering with Cleveland Clinic. No, healthcare, operationalizing healthcare, it is a lot of work. A lot of money goes into this, and there's a lot of players already in it. So the competition is super, super tough, right? I'm not saying that Palantir can't overcome the competition, but essentially it's exactly what I said. It's a very risky proposition to go into. If we as investors want to have good returns, right? We want Palantir to focus on industries that are going to be able to give us good returns. in a short period of time without putting up much risk and without putting up much capital. What Palantir is basically signed up for is high expenses, okay, for the next probably 10 years. And it's not guaranteed that there'll be any real major successes out of it. A lot of hospitals, they're very fragmented. They're very cheap in terms of buying software that's going to operationalize their workflows. Most of the time when people say, oh, look, we have a great product, it's just another dashboard. There are other incumbent players that literally got their asses handed to them, like IBM with IBM Watson, which one day I'm sure Sean will tell you all about. I'm just telling you guys, it's not the easiest nut to crack. And there's so many other opportunities right now, low-hanging fruit that Palantir can focus on that could really generate a lot of business value in the long run. But this is the route that they have gone. Do I think it's a good thing? Do I think it's a good thing for a long term? Yes. But I also think that this is one of those things that is going to be much harder than people are expecting. So all I'm trying to do is just temp down the hype. Like take the hype from Palantir is changing healthcare to, hey, Palantir partnered with a really major organization within the healthcare space. The tangible benefits will be seen when you start to see tons of revenue come in, right? And you're not only tons of revenue, but profitable revenue. That's the key. Because if you're spending, for every $1 that you're getting, you're spending $1.50 to refine a product, that's not a good thing. So just keep that in mind.
Chris, you're in the field. My question is, do you think that this contract is going to take resources away because internally they're going to have to shift and allocate resources to build this out and make changes because this is a much different segment than they're used to, and it's going to take their eye off the ball in other areas that they're proficient in?
I think hospital systems overall are very fragmented. Like, it's only been maybe 12 years since we started to even think like organizations. Before, every hospital was run almost like a siloed approach. Big data wasn't even a thing. Like, no one really focused on that, right? IBM was one of the first companies to come in and say, you know what, we're going to help you optimize things like billing. We're going to help you optimize diagnosis. We're going to help you optimize this. But there are a lot of incumbents in the space, and especially like among like the non-technical workers. They don't want to do things that are cutting edge. They kind of want to do things that are very, what's the word, like easy and simple. And also from a risk perspective, you don't necessarily want to integrate with new technology. So it's almost like if you're trying to integrate like cutting edge software, healthcare is the last place you really want to be. When you're trying to be in healthcare, it's literally
Chris, what are you talking about?
It's
bro?
an uphill battle, dude. I'm trying to tell you, being in software.
I respect that you
health-
work there, but how are you saying innovation and healthcare are not like
No.
symbiotic, you can't work together?
Take that. Whoa, it's not innovation. I'm saying software innovation is not exactly a premium thing in the hospital systems. Like, look, I'm telling you right now, no one, like the most successful things that I've seen in hospital systems when it comes to software and SaaS related products are around things that are going to end up being clinically relevant for patients.
So Chris, stick on that for a second. Hypothetically, if Cleveland is using Epic, for instance, Palantir is never replacing Epic. Most likely, correct?
No, never.
Like I don't want to use a definitive, but most likely Epic's not going anywhere. That's the premier.
Right.
So
Epic and Cerner are not going anywhere.
How many other systems in the hospital system are there, like an Epic or a Cerner, that are that important that are just not going anywhere?
Well, that's the thing. Every hospital is going to have different pieces to it, right? If you look at every hospital, and especially every like department, they have their own softwares that they've customized, that they've tailored to their needs and all this other stuff. And then they all work on that, right? So an example is if you work in radiology, you're working in a PAC system. If you're working in lab, they have software vendors that do lab stuff. You have cardiology. Cardiology has their own stuff. Like, it's a lot of different silos that you have all this data and everything around, right? And to try to unify it with doctors that are really goddamn old, I still, trust me, I get calls about the most smallest things that end up being just, it is an uphill battle for a software vendor to get into healthcare. In the United States, there are other countries out there that all are united Like, here's a good example: Israel, right? Israel has literally integrated everything into their healthcare system. They have a single, almost a single payer system where everyone can just work together. Everything is standardized. So yes, you can implement things and you could scale them very easily. In the US, that's not the case. Like, it's really hard to scale things in the United States in
So
healthcare.
how long will it take to know if this is going to be a success or not?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's not
No,
easy.
but that's
not
what I'm
an easy
asking.
thing.
Like, how many years do you think? 5, 6 years for Cleveland Cliff to know if
First of all, Palantir's probably already worked with them on a pilot project for like last 2-3 years or 4 years, 5 years, whatever, right? So this is not something new. Cleveland Clinic is not going to partner with you for 10 years based on just a sales meeting. Literally, they've probably been using it for a little while. Now they think that they can expand it further. That does lend credibility to whatever Palantir is trying to provide to them. All I'm saying is, even if Cleveland Clinic says this is the greatest thing on the planet, hospitals aren't going to all wake up tomorrow and say, hey, we want Palantir to come in and change everything for us and get us on our digital transformation journey. Most of them are still trying to figure out how to do digital transformation. That's all I'm trying to say.
think about
Yeah.
the word you're using, system. You know, you're not
Mhm.
talking about a standalone hospital. You look at LIJ, Northwell, they
Mhm.
have many different locations. So to try to get a new platform rolled out in one location is a challenge. Try getting it rolled out in many locations. So that's why I'm asking those questions, because if this does work, it could be very good for us, but it is going to be very intensive to get there. And I think it's going to take years to even know
And
if this is going to really work out for us.
and then every system operates their own way. They have their own workflows, right? They're not all standardized to the way that like other countries are, where you literally have a standard process.
What
Like,
if
another-
Palantir does an amazing job with the Cleveland Clinic though? What if they like really set a precedent?
I'm sure that is the use case which by they are going to market themselves, where they say, look, if we can partner with them and we can provide value to these guys, that means that our product is good. Please use our product, right? They need, just like the Lockheed Martin thing, they need an avenue to get into the space that they can lend almost like credibility into their software. The problem is that it takes a really long time for you to get there. That's
Well,
all.
let's think about that for a
Yeah.
sec, because when did they do their deal with BP? That had to have been
2017?
2017, something like that. And you're just
2014,
seeing
2015.
it was that far back. Okay.
Yeah, it
So
was
you're
that far
just
back.
seeing Kinder Morgan come
But-
on in 2021 and Exxon come
So
on in
that's not
2020.
right, actually, because when they had a deal with BP, there was a agreement for a lockup period that during this lockup period they cannot do another energy company. So as soon
did
as
not know
that
that.
lockup was expired, I mean, only then they started going after another energy company, because when they did the BP deal, they didn't have a product or strategy for energy. It was also learning for them what kind of solutions and things. So BP was an opportunity where both companies came together to build the solutions and everything. Okay. So they also had this idea that, okay, you will not work with any other competitor or any other energy company until we finish the lockup period. So that was the reason that they were not active in energy. I wasn't aware of this entirely in the initial part, and I was also thinking why they are not going after. But then I get to talk to different people in BP, including their ex-CDO. That's where I learned that. I mean, I actually happened to be for a year in the same team where the BP ex-CDO was working, so get to learn a lot about it. But yeah, I mean, it was a different challenge they were facing. Back to you.
Is that the same thing as what's going on with Kinder Morgan now? Because I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen Energy Transfer or Enterprise Product Partners or Enbridge anything about another large pipeline company using their product.
So as much
do
as
me a favor.
I'm aware,
Can you put this comment from Brandon Lim on there? Because I think that's what I'm trying to say. He articulated it very well.
yeah. So I'm not aware that as much I know about Palantir energy strategy as of today, I think they are not going into these kind of arrangement with any of the customer. They can go to these kind of arrangement maybe with a partner to sell a joint offering that everybody does in terms of kind of a strategic partnering and alliance. So that if they do that, that's understandable. But with client, because right now with BP they were learning from BP also. Okay, now it is more commercialized market, so I don't expect that to happen. What I'm seeing, I mean, like, I'm not an expert in healthcare. I mean, I do invest my money in healthcare, but as more as an outsider. I think Chris knows it better. See, like the challenge you are seeing in healthcare in terms of broken software. So a lot of softwares that people use because they are tied to the hardware for which it is designed, the kind of database. Because if I'm a hardware vendor, I'm designing a software so that my product could be sold, and database is secondary thought for me. So this is why this landscape is very fragmented. But healthcare is not only that kind of industry. There are several industries like that. I mean, if you go to robotics, the robotics that not exist today, like for ABB and a lot of other these companies 3-4 years back, they have this product that can only work for that particular. There was no platform. Now ABB is moving towards a platform kind of approach. So it's not a choice for a lot of industries, and I believe healthcare that will happen, that you have to move. Because if you see the amount of money that is invested in the healthcare overall in USA and a lot of other countries, there is a lot of value can be created. It's a capital country at the end of the day. The moment people are realizing that a lot of value can be unlocked, industry will be literally forced by in some portions to do it. So whether it happens by choice or whether it happens by force, I believe it will happen. Whether Palantir takes advantage of it or other companies take advantage of it, I don't know that part yet. Okay, back to you.
So, Sachin, I got one more question for you. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since Q3 earnings came out. Are you worried about the declining margins on free cash flow? And has your investment thesis changed long-term based on what we're seeing the declining trend be? Or do you think this is just an anomaly right now?
See, the declining free cash flow, there are three reasons I see. First is because they also have hired so many people. They are investing. So when you are investing more on sales, BD, marketing, you do expect some decline in free cash flow. Is it a concern for me at this point? No. My long-term thesis has changed about them. No, I do feel the same that their go-to-market strategy still needs a lot of more work. Okay, at this point, I do not know that whether they can become a monopoly like AWS. And if they don't become a monopoly like AWS, that will be the failure of their GTM rather than the failure of their product. I have seen their product in action, and it's amazing. I mean, I led data strategy for large company. I've seen so many other products. And I mean, what I have seen with Palantir is something I have never come across even today. So product wise, it's their product that has raised my confidence, and the idea that people at the helm will eventually figure out how to make it more consumable for different industrial sector. But yeah, I mean, things can go wrong as well. I mean, I know that at this particular moment, Snowflake is struggling in few of their clients to deliver some really complex use cases. See, when you enter, their strategy was always based on simplicity. But this cheerleading phase of digital transformation, everybody is realizing under this market that we cannot be a cheerleader for long. We need to deliver solid things. And this is where a lot of digital transformation landscape companies are struggling. Okay, but what is happening with C3 AI? I mean, they came with so much pomp and show building BSC3i with Baker Hughes, and they build what is happening on the revenue. I mean, why? I mean, the success in the energy with C3i, which is even like the barriers of entry is so low, they are not making that kind of inroads either. Okay, for them. So there are a lot of companies that are struggling in this domain, and the challenge that the clients are facing is 2 years back, AI at scale was in PowerPoint. The investors are asking, show us AI at scale on ground here, deploy it. And in order, and the things when you are looking to deploy, they are very complex use cases. You really need things that work. And this is where a lot of companies are struggling at this particular point. So the landscape for digital companies who is I mean, like what we were considering a successful company 1 year back, or what will we see a successful company 2 years down the line, there is going to be some shift in that. That's my opinion. Back to you guys.
Okay, so overall long thesis has not changed, which is a good thing to understand. Sachin, so your thoughts on this healthcare thing? This is kind of the same with Steven, is that it proves a good precedent, but you do resonate with a little bit of what Chris is saying, which that software in hospitals is going to be hard to change.
See, the way I see is that what Chris described, that why there is so much passive aggressiveness in system to change. Okay. And the way companies approach, see that there are two ways change can happen: is people are willing to change, or change is forced upon them.
Yep.
Okay. My understanding is that when in any industry there is a lot of passive aggressiveness, change is one way or other ways forced upon them. Okay, whether they like it or they don't like it. Okay, and I don't expect healthcare to be any different. Yes, people can resist a lot, but it will eventually happen. That's my view. I mean, like, and I'm not an insider in the healthcare industry. I always study healthcare as an outsider. Okay, I have substantial portion of my net wealth invested in biotech, not healthcare in general. I mean, in a way, healthcare also. So that's my view. Okay, but it is based on overall view for all industries, because that's how change can happen. I think there's a very good book by Yves Moria, which is 6 Simple Rules. Okay, people don't understand that why people are reacting like this, and the moment the context is clear, people can change the rule of the game to force change upon people. Okay, whether they want it or not. This has happened in so many industries before, and healthcare is due for disruption for a very long time now.
Speaking of healthcare, what do we think about the potential fragmentation of the NHS deal and what's going on in the UK? Anyone have any thoughts or updates on the situation?
Yeah, I didn't particularly like it, because it just proved that the NHS is willing to cave to political pressure, right? They could have just kept the deal all in one. Palantir would have just did exactly what they're doing right now, right? Palantir literally came up and said, we will help you for free during the COVID pandemic, right? And then they got fought tooth and nail. And then they got taken to court. When they got extended, they got a $25 million 1-year contract for extension, then another one. And then they went for a much larger federated contract. And now the NHS is like, oh, you know what? We'll break it up, because you know what? Maybe we don't want all the data privacy stuff to go to Palantir. So now literally you've created a vector where a third party can really mess up. And now it's almost like, oh, well, Palantir, is the reason why. No, there's so many, like the NHS is a very left heavy organization. Okay, it's very liberal. It's very like anti outsiders coming in. Like one of the biggest fears of the NHS, like providers, the NHS, is that we're gonna, as Americans, are gonna come and privatize their healthcare. They're literally like, that's like one of their biggest fears. So to have an American company in and work with them is somewhat of a challenge. So now here's the thing. Now there's a lot of political pressure to get Palantir out. That's never a good thing for Palantir, because politics is one of those things that if you have some weak leaders and weak politicians come in, they'll literally rip out something that's super successful and say, oh, well, you know what? I have a base to support. So here's an example in New York City. I don't know if you guys know this, but the police, the NYPD, were using Palantir for like literally almost a decade, right? They were using it to great effect, everything else. Liberal politicians came in. They said, oh, well, Palantir works with ICE and immigration and everything else. Guess what happened? They ripped Palantir out. They literally took Palantir out of it, even though Palantir was fully integrated into the NYPD. And right now, there's actually a big lawsuit with Palantir, because their thing is, well, Palantir's not giving us the tools to migrate over to somebody else. Look at that. So politicians, I'm never a big fan of any.
So Chris, you are in the same camp that we should separate the government and commercial business, correct?
Still, always. Yep.
Steven, what do you think about that?
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it.
It's what a moderator has to do.
Yeah. Look, Chris and I have not discussed this. We are on opposite ends of this, and I understand Chris's view because of what just happened and what has happened in the past. And due to things being political, unfortunately, it can negatively impact future deals. I will never dispute that. I think it's too early to spin off commercial and separate the two. Also, the company is just not big enough. And if we ever want to see this company really grow to its potential in the next several years, we need every dollar of revenue. We need every deal possible. We need to build everything out to where there is not a competitor that can replace them. And then the conversation about splitting out commercial can be had. But right now, it's not the right time, in my opinion.
Chris, do you have any response to that?
So there's a lot of tangible benefits to splitting. You don't also want to get so big that the split is going to be messy, right? Right now, they're small enough to the point where a split is easy to do. Right now, they break it off. In our group chat, I told you exactly what it is, right? The problem is right now, whatever this jumbled up organization is, they're not getting the valuation of a high performance defense contractor like Anduril, nor are they getting a SaaS-like valuation on the other end. Literally right now, you have to try to figure out what the hell, how to even value this company.
So
right?
let's have that conversation about how do we have to value something. Amit, I think you and I spoke about this, and I had said that I think all of us, myself included, evaluate companies incorrectly. And you can't evaluate company A differently than company B. And if a company like Apple is trading, I haven't looked at the numbers in the past week, but if they were trading at 20 times free cash flow plus the equity on their book. If they're trading at 20x free cash flow plus their equity, why should another company that has not proven themselves trade at 60 times free cash flow? That never made any sense to me, especially when you start looking at the amount numerically that Apple has grown its free cash flow over the past 3 years. It may not be 100% on a percentage basis, but it's $40-50 billion, which is crazy because these other companies that are valued at 60x will never get there to generate 50 billion in a year, let alone over 5 years. So I think the way that we look at valuing is incorrect. And there should be additional value for growth, but at some point that's got to stop. Like there has to be some cutoff point where that no longer impacts the valuation. So
if Chris wins this thesis though, like AWS is separate from Amazon, Prime is kind of
no, that would be the worst freaking thing that ever happened to Amazon. Stop. Don't even say that. Please.
No, but isn't that already the case that AWS is separate from Amazon?
Two different operating structures. Look at their
Look at their
table.
off AWS. AWS is the only thing keeping that company.
They are two different business altogether.
It's completely different business, but you don't want to spin that off into a separate company. That would be horrible. Right now, you look at their actual financials, their cash from operations has declined significantly. I don't have it in front of me.
But operational, right. If you look at their tree, it's two different things. Like right now, Palantir's like this jumbled up thing right now. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Completely two separate things under the same company, though, not spun off into company A and company B. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to see commercial and business be two separate companies. But with AWS, you look at Q3, you look at Q2, they would be completely negative. They lose money on North American and they lose money on international business. AWS is the only thing that's creating contribution profit to them. Operating income.
I guess the question is, why can't you have Palantir parent company and then commercial and business, as if commercial was AWS theoretically and business was Prime?
If they're part of the same company, that's fine. Absolutely fine. I don't want to see it spun off into a completely separated entity.
See, at this point, it's just a distraction. The companies first need to figure out there are 100 more priorities for Palantir to sort it out in their basic. They're not even able to reach clients. Okay, now if you split your resources between two different things, the split doesn't make sense. Split makes sense like when Chris says in terms of branding and positioning. But when you do the split, you need to put resources into it also. Okay. Right now, they are just juggling one way or other way to manage their resources and make the best out of it. When they are $10 billion revenue company, this is something. I mean, in the example of NHS, I mean, like when you deal with government, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's dirty sometime, and this is just the case. To me, I simply, if I'm sitting with Palantir guys, I will just say that cut your losses with NHS. If they are not, they are taking their hands away, you also do as minimum as possible with them. Okay, somebody can dump you that hard when you worked with them, when their backs were against the wall, and they do things like this. Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be very supportive in, if they don't want to do it. Yeah, we do the minimum also. This is how the business is. If I mean, if you don't help, I mean, at the end of the day, it's for Palantir to decide what they do. But yeah, I think they, all the support and everything that is done on the top as a cherry, that should stop. Okay, if NHS wants to stay in a state of whatever they are, it's their choice. At the end of the day, I mean, what is happening in UK and their healthcare, it's no more a secret. The whole world knows about it. I was supposed to move to London last year. I didn't move there. Okay, so if they want to live like that, that's their choice. I mean, if whatever is happening on their left liberal wing and their attacks on data and all that, I mean, we just saw what happened on the liberals in US. I mean, the Twitter files has just came out. Okay, so yeah, you can project that other person is dirty, but I think the time will come and we'll see how dirty these people are also. So yeah, I think for NHS, they should cut their losses and spend their excess resources where they expect returns to come, and in future they should be careful spending a very long credit line and efforts with the people like this who cannot back you up when you need them.
What they need to do is keep their mouth shut when it comes to political affiliations. Like, that's the biggest problem. Literally Palantir's problem started in 2016 when Peter Thiel came out with Donald Trump and said, "Hey guys, you know, Palantir and Donald Trump are best friends." And then after that, the liberals all went goddamn crazy. The key to operating successfully in any industry is maintaining that air of neutrality, right? Where you're not impartially on one side or the other. And I think that's the problem. The Palantir kind of aligned themselves. Well, Peter Thiel, and because Peter Thiel aligned himself with Trump, now literally it's anywhere Palantir goes right now, it's the same attack, same exact attack that you get. So how do you distance yourself from that? Peter Thiel is still on the board of Palantir. Peter Thiel is still involved operationally, right?
You cannot distance yourself. You just have to embrace it. Okay, there is no other way. I mean, if you ask me, like, would I advise Peter Thiel to go and endorse Trump? I would say, man, stay 100 feet away from him. Okay, I mean, he's not even a kind of leader I would endorse. Okay, but I mean, same way, like I wouldn't, but Biden endorse either. The thing is, what is happening now in Silicon Valley? But see, the fact I like about Palantir is they have taken a stand against Silicon Valley on things which Silicon Valley is wrong. See, big tech today is what big oil used to be. These are the mafias and bullies and they are telling everyone what to do. Okay, and and the Palantir said, we don't want to do that. Okay, so yes, there will be attack on them. Okay, but whatever has happened in the world for last 2, 3, 4 years, I think there is more awareness about different topics, that okay, everything what left is doing is not right, and everything what conservatives are doing is not wrong. Okay, I'm not talking about right here. I'm just talking about the conservatives and moderates. Okay, and if this discussion goes further, it's not easy to take it further. Okay, Palantir is sitting in a club that is unscathed by this. See what is happening in Twitter. I mean, now probably we'll see that Elon Musk as a CEO has already presented the evidence that yes, they were influencing. Okay,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up.
The question now for everyone will come is that what else is going on in big tech? Okay, and now we also know. So thing is that it is very difficult for certain companies to stay away from controversy, and Palantir cannot stay away from controversy. They just have to embrace it. This is what we do. You like it, you like it. You don't like it, please go with someone whom you like. Okay, I think that's pretty much that. See, this it is what is. Tomorrow, like if Lockheed Martin, they are selling weapons. Okay, they can stop selling weapons when people will stop using weapons. Okay, so it's a very, I mean, different discussion. I don't mind what Palantir stand is. I don't mind their involvement in different controversy. Okay, when the fight is on, okay, yeah, you can lose a battle here and there. Who wins in the end is matter. I mean, see, think from this point of view, like George Soros. I mean, he's just an investor and he has particular way of promoting his philosophies and everything, and he got open democracy to that. But then the same organization is now attacking different institutions and individuals and people. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you go attacking people, these attacks can come back to you also at some particular point when your friends are not in power as they are today. I mean, politics, time is the ultimate power. I mean, Chris, you have seen Indian politics, man. I mean, you have seen what Modi was and what Modi is, and I mean, there are like plenty of things like this. So I don't mind, and I mean, you cannot just get rid of this image. It is what it is, and if we are investor in Palantir, we have to live with it. I mean, we can say a lot of things, but there is always going to be drag because of it. So yeah, it is. I mean,
the pendulum always swings. The pendulum always swings, whether it's right or it's left. The best place to be is right in that middle, you know. So, yeah.
Palantir did release an article this week, basically saying, "Hey, we're not a spy company. We're not a." And they've released multiple articles over the past couple of months explaining that they're not a spy company. The problem is, I don't know who's reading their 5-minute long blog, right?
I have a challenge.
If Palantir is spying on companies and people, Alex Carr would be behind jail. So even people who are saying that Palantir is spying, even they, I mean, if you know, you have the billions of dollars, you are sponsoring NGOs and politicians in 50 different countries. Can't you get a single piece of evidence to put Alex Carr behind the bar if Palantir is doing that?
That's
okay,
true.
so
I have a challenge.
Chris, what were you? Yeah. Go ahead, Chris. What were you?
No, I have a challenge for Amit. Say Palantir is not a spy company 10,000 times on the live stream.
That would get some views. It would get more views than their article. That's for sure.
Yeah. Maybe that'll get you the Alex Carr, the Sham interview that we need. I'll do it with you. You do.
Oh, hold on.
Take a break.
I have to share this with you guys. Any thoughts on this? Sham has sold 50,000 shares unrelated to RSU vesting obligations. These were planned profit taking, essentially. But what do we think? The dude's selling at $7.
I don't know. Maybe he needs to buy a new house or something, dude. Who cares? At this point, that's such a small amount. That's $350,000.
How many shares does he have?
I think he has like 6 million, something like that.
I'm not worried about 50,000 shares then.
Yeah, if you need to buy a new house or a condo or something, or pay someone's bills, like this is just a small amount. That's not anything. Now, if he liquidated like 1 million shares, then you got a question. That's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah, if it was a large percentage, the fact that he's still holding a very big amount of shares, I'm not too concerned about it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's it for this week.
Generally,
anything else?
See, generally, when the insiders are talking about the valuation on company and the stock is good by saying the word stock, and then they are selling their share, that's the biggest red flag for insider selling.
So
I mean,
Amit,
if you see,
I know that you had posted that video. I didn't get to watch it. What did he say on Fox?
Let's watch that right now. It's actually only a minute long. So let me pull this up right now. This is Sham talking about the share price.
So Amit, are you down to do Palantir is not a spyware company stream?
No, I'm not down to that. I've got a life, actually.
What if we drop it to 1,000 times?
Nah, dude, that's not gonna get views. We need it. We need 10,000.
We need 50,000. I know from experience.
Wait, how many did you do last time?
I did 50,000 and like 10 people showed up. So all right.
Whoa! I was on there for the entire time, laughing.
You were one of the 10.
I was laughing at you the entire time. It was awesome.
when you look at the stock, which obviously, like every data stock, has really gotten hammered, how do you get the world and Wall Street to see that this is a company that is in it for the long term and is going to improve this picture? I mean, you're down 61% year over year. It's great to see you up 5% today, but how do you sort of wrap your arms around that problem?
He should have just said,
Well,
who
I've
isn't?
had the great fortune of being at Palantir for 17 years. And over that time, what we've just focused on is making our software more and more valuable. Making sure that whether it's the kill chain in Lockheed Martin or the supply chain with Tyson Foods, that there are no missing links and that we are delivering day over day. And we recently had a customer conference in Palo Alto where Tyson Foods was talking about how they got $200 million of savings within 24 months and how rare and how hard that is. Jacob Engineering was sharing how they're projected to save up to $90 million in energy costs in wastewater treatment. And those stories that we're getting from the front lines, literally on the front lines of Ukraine to the front lines of our customers in the US commercial business, they continue to motivate our product roadmap and the value we create. And we think the stock price will reflect that.
Yo, what is a kill stream? What is a kill stream?
Like, basically,
you guys notice when he said
planning.
that?
Yeah, it's planning missions. Like if you do mission planning.
I never heard that word before. Kill stream. Wow.
Yeah,
Or
it's
kill
like
chain.
mission
Kill
plan-
chain.
Kill chain. It's like mission planning to take things out, right? So if you're like,
can anybody ever just answer a question? All he did was a fluff piece to try to get people to acknowledge that.
bro, we need more fluff pieces. We need more fluff pieces, especially in the national media. We need more fluff. This is great marketing. This is literally just put Sham out there for 5 minutes in front of Fox.
From a PR
cool with
standpoint, it's great. No question about it.
Which is what Palantir's been lacking for a long time. Like, you know what's sad? When I tell people, like, hey, do you know what Palantir is? And they say, what is Palantir? Like, come on, you should know about it. Like, you get there, baby.
But Fox Business is, I feel like if he came on our podcast, it would be a little bit better than Fox Business.
Yeah, I would love that. Like, dude, they're at O'Hare Airport. Like, I don't know if Dom showed you, or Tennessee Airport, right? Where they basically have like a billboard. Who the gives a shit about a billboard in the airport? You think I give a shit? Like, ooh, let me look at that billboard real quick. Oh man, that's cool. Palantir work. It's Ferrari. No one gives a shit, dude. I'm trying to get to my flight. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't give a shit. You know, whatever.
That's true. That's true.
Just be
Sachin,
smart.
you're gonna say something?
Yeah.
See,
Sachin, can you just move the mic a little bit away from you? It's a little bit hot. Yeah, there you go. A little bit away. There you go. Good.
See, the only people who are going to buy your product, are you reaching them? That's more important. If you focus too much on cleaning your image, I mean, yeah, Shell is trying it for a long time. I think every oil and gas company is trying it for a long time. People who still hate these companies, they still hate it. Okay, so my point is that, yeah, it is good to give clarification, but focusing too much on clearing image, I mean, if you are not doing anything wrong, is also not helpful. I think if you do it too much, people will think, yeah, something is out there. The focus at this particular point should be on people and companies. They can help by selling their product, and they should be very single-minded about that. I think they are in a way, but the way they execute things is an area where definite improvement is needed. Okay, the thing about the Fox interview was the tone Fox people use. It was very appreciative. And that's why it is looking at a fluff also. But if you go to CNBC and if you listen about the most iconic people like Jim Cramer, he was fluff about SPF, he was fluff about Theranos, he was fluff about a lot of time for very CEOs also. Okay, see, no, even the people like Andrew Sorkin and other CNBC, when they talk to lot of CEOs and executives, they are very appreciative of them also at times. Okay, but when they talk about Palantir, except Andrew Sorkin, everybody has a very negative tone about Palantir, or they have a very flat tone about Palantir. So every business channel does it. Now, in case of Palantir, Fox is taking more an appreciative, and it's a welcome step. At least they are what they said, it was not wrong. It was not like what Jim Cramer does, like making SPF as a JP Morgan. Okay, it was not lie, at least, but yeah, they did bring things out, and they should do more interviews and with Fox Business. That's what I think.
Let's transition to this because I know we have to end it soon. There was a Bloomberg article or Washington Post article that came out showing this chart, which was every Palantir SPAC that they've invested in is almost bankrupt or down 80% on average this year. Palantir has sold out a lot of these positions. Some of them they still have. It's why they've been missing their EPS for consecutive quarters. Thoughts on a SPAC strategy? Was it a failed strategy, or is there still some life to this thesis?
Yeah, clear as day.
I think it is.
Numbers- Yeah.
I think it is fair to say it was definitely not a successful strategy. There were lessons to be learned. They got exposure to different industries. Can they incorporate that exposure moving forward? SPAC strategy in terms of making money from investment. You remember when the SPAC thing happened, we said they can make money by the equity and they can make money by revenue.
Yeah.
On equity, I mean, the results are in front of us. They have lost a lot. Probably some of these things may bounce back over the time. So equity wise, it's a definite loss. In terms of revenue wise, maybe some of the revenues that will come eventually, it will be break even. So in terms of overall money point of view, looking forward at this point, it looks at best a break even kind of investment. Now, the most important part is that they have get access to these industries and they have got access to quite frontier use cases. How they use it to build more clients, I think that's something I hope they have learned their lesson. Still, like going back, looking in terms of strategic investments and everything, I think they tried something different. I appreciate them for this. Yeah, it didn't work out that way, as I mean, with the market the way things have gone. Let's see how these things look in 2 years down the line.
Yeah, I think a lot of these could rebound as well, right? Wejo is a phenomenal company. Tritium Charging got a lot of money from the United States to expand. Lilium is great. Some of the others I'm not that bullish on. Black Sky is another one of them. Babylon Health, but I mean, let's let the macro get better. Let's let interest rates come down to 2%, inflation come down to 2% over the next 4 or 5 years. And if one of them hits, they invested $220 million. If one of them hits, they could theoretically make that back and more.
So I have a bit of a different take than Sachin on that. Can you just bring up that chart really quick one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
So while the equity position is down, this is still a company with over $2 billion in cash on the books and $0 in debt. So, okay, it was an investment risk that did not go right. Maybe I don't agree with the amount of SPACs they invested in, but there are some SPACs on this list that really could have huge future potential. And the ones that I'm thinking of are Sacros Robotics, Wejo, Lilium, and Black Sky. I mean, Black Sky was very important, I think, because of what Palantir does on the defense side. So that was a no-brainer. Wejo has huge potential down the road. It's still very early for that company. But when you think about Sacros Robotics, you can turn the chart off. I just wanted to get those names. When you think about Sacros Robotics, and you think about the amount of warehouses that there are in the US and the amount of preventive measures it can have from injuries, and the amount of less workman's comp claims companies can have, that is really big. And then from an efficiency level, if those exoskeleton robots really become a standard down the road in these warehouses, being on the ground level of that platform could be huge. And then Lilium, short range electric small planes, if that becomes a real thing, that could be a big market. Now, were the numbers fluff that were in the Lilium press release that I liked? We don't know yet. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but that's another area that could be very big because of the application for it. So I don't think we can say it's a failed experiment yet. The equity is certainly down tremendously, but it was worth the investment to get on the ground floor of some of these sectors that could be the next sectors in the 2030s. We got to wait and see. It's a long-term strategy that has not played out yet. The question is, why do they do so many of them? That's what I have a problem with. It's not that they did it. I think they overdid it.
Well, they were buying some revenue. I mean, that's the answer, right?
No, I agree. I agree with Steven entirely on this part. I think the strategy, like I said, I mean, they tried something new, and some of these things may bounce back. They got decent revenue, but some of the SPAC investments were they were questionable. I mean, at least they were not like. I mean, we saw what happened with Faraday Future. I think that was one company when I was surprised why they are doing it. But yeah, I think the quality of some of the SPACs is pretty solid, but there are some questionable SPACs, which happens. I mean, the way they wanted to do it in a limited time, or I don't know what happened, but yeah,
It was
the
like a
overall
VC arm,
number,
right? It threw
yeah.
it at a lot
But
of
see,
companies, and
yeah, but if you see, it was not only VCR, there was a bit strategic into that, so they wanted to test different industries and use cases. But at the end of the day, the objective was to make money, and some of these will be sunk for sure. Some of these will be reasonable, and I think few of them will turn into gold mine with time.
I think they put themselves in a box because what they did was they set themselves up for a high growth target. And so when the numbers weren't coming in that they needed to kind of justify that growth, they were like, well, we're going to have to pump that growth from somewhere. So they're like, oh, well, these SPAC companies, they'll last at least 5 years. They've got cash on the balance sheet. It'll be fine. Let them pay us. And this way we can maintain that revenue target until the business improves. But it turns out that wasn't the case. So. No, but that's my take
There
on
is
it.
one thing which is often overlooked in their SPAC investment. So if you see the foundry for builders and if you see the SPAC investment, there is a very, very strong contrast. Foundry for builders are the small companies which are solving problems with new ways in old industries. They have not given any SPAC in those kinds. All of these companies are small in nature, so that's what all into foundry for builders, and this is where they also take some sort of equity positioning at times. When you see SPAC companies were all these companies which were like new kind of industries, new kind of problems. So there was like a very focused strategic sense also that what they want to do with it. So in their view, they know that these are the industries which are going into the futures. Let's make some bet on it. So it was new industries, new problems. That was the idea for SPAC they had. So it was not just like investing everywhere. It was like new industries and new problems. So yeah, I think that was the focus. Foundry for builders was very different approach than what happened in terms of a SPAC. So yeah, I mean overall we can see the situation 2-3 years 4 years down the line. For sure some of these investment at this point are looking that they will be sunk costs, but overall whether it will be failure or not, it's better to judge when the market bounce back.
I have a question for you guys.
Sachin, I know you have a hard stop, so if you have to go, that's okay. But if not, then you can stay for the last question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have to go, guys, and see you guys again, and stay safe in the meantime. Okay, thanks for everyone who has joined the live
Thanks,
stream.
Sachin. Thank you for being here.
Bye.
See you,
Have a
Mike.
good
See you,
day.
Sachin.
It's actually better that he left. He may not be able to answer this. What do you guys think the shareholder meeting's about?
Bro, I think it's
Wasn't that
about
already
nothing.
discussed?
The
Yeah.
extraordinary shareholder meeting. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's Chris. Didn't you tweet some stuff that it's not? It's like a restructuring of something.
Yeah, they got sued at one point. One of the parts of the settlement was they were going to reincorporate with some changes, and they needed shareholder votes in order to modify their incorporation agreement. That's all. It's nothing.
Didn't they
like-
say there was a big announcement coming?
No.
I could have swore I read that somewhere. It is.
Palantir says there's a big announcement coming.
I thought that's what I read. I could be wrong. It's almost 1 a.m. So
No.
Yeah, you're drinking cold coffee at 1 a.m.
Even in the announcement of the emergency shareholder meeting, if you just scroll down, it'll tell you why they're having it.
Yeah, it's likely not going to be a big deal. It's the class action lawsuit though is there. People are suing them because they thought the stock price would go up and it didn't. Right? That's the
No, it's the
Point.
operating structure is what they're suing about, saying that their current like system with the founders like how have like complete control over the company and stuff, that it's not legal under Delaware law. That's all.
I don't think Palantir would be able to go to public if that wasn't legal, right?
Not
That's
the
it.
case. That's why you get taken to court, right? You could do something illegal, and then someone takes you to court, and then you settle with them. Like I think the settlement was a total of I think like 5 million or something like that, where the lawyers got paid about 5 and the person maybe got 50,000 out of it, which is always the case, right? Most of the time these things happen. Whatever.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we're not getting a.
Yo, Coach Trap,
big
when you
announcement.
coming on again, man? We haven't had you for a while. Christmas stream, come on, come through.
Yeah,
get you
last time
some
we-
bourbon, bro.
Last time we had Code Strap, he delivered the story of meeting Carp. That was an epic pod.
Yeah,
That was a
man.
great pod.
Well, it's kind of cool to see Apollo, right? Now Apollo's see the thing that a lot of people missed was that this was like a showcase for Apollo. You see what I mean? Usually we
Yeah.
only talk about Gotham and Foundry. Like, hey, those are great products, whatever, but this was the first time they spoke about Apollo.
Next week is the week I actually can't do the pod, guys. I have to go somewhere.
Don't worry, I'll do it. I'll do it with Code.
All right, Code Strap, you might have Chris to yourself next week if I can't.
Let's go. Apollo's gonna be bigger than Gotham and Foundry. That's a possibility. So, and Lockheed Martin's working with it, so now it's almost like a proven thing that it's out there in the wild, right?
Oh wait, now that Sachin is gone, we can talk a little bit about Anduril. That was pretty cool, right? That was pretty cool. Anduril raised 1.48 billion at basically a 9 billion post money, and Palantir is what 15 billion right now, 14 billion. So they're almost close in the private markets. So when they IPO, you imagine they're going to IPO at like 18, 20 billion, something like that, maybe double their price. So that was interesting. I think it showed Palmer Luckey when he was talking about it. They said, "What are you going to do with the billion you raised?" He was like, "We're just going to keep doing what we're doing," which shows to me on a macro there is more demand, because when you go back to those, very established venture capital funds saying, "Hey, give us $1 billion, we're going to use it to double down," that means they're showing them financial projections around demand that is justifying the need internationally and in the American sector for more defense products, whether it's software or hardware. So as a subcontractor for Palantir, I think that's bullish long term for Palantir being able to get more deals as well.
Yeah, but you see, this is one of the benefits for being just in defense, that you don't get criticized for other things. Like Anduril right now makes tracking software for Mexicans crossing the border. But did you ever hear about, oh my God, Anduril is securing the border and trying to prevent Mexicans from coming over? Like, or they're working with ICE, because Anduril definitely working with ICE, right? If they're protecting the border, they're working with ICE, but not ICE, border control, whatever. But that's what I'm trying to say. That like, if you are like just plain and upfront out there, like, hey, we're a defense contractor, no one's gonna be like, oh my God, you're a defense contractor. Then you get a choice. People want to invest in a defense contractor, they can. If they don't, they don't. It's a product market right there. Whereas you can't be like, oh well, a defense contractor some days, and then other days we're like Batman and not Batman. What do you call it? Superman and Clark Kent, right?
Yeah.
Superman can't go to the office and be like, well, guess what? I also want to be a reporter. And reporter can't just be Superman. You have to be two different people. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little kooky.
No, you're right. You're right. At the end of the day, Anduril is not going to get blamed the same way. Anduril is not trying to help BP or Tyson Foods,
Yeah.
So.
It's like I said, if you're trying to go and pitch, like, hey, aren't you guys that make the drones that watch people? Yeah, we are, but don't worry, that's another part of the business. Okay.
So Chris, when you had said separate, did you mean separate into two entities the way AWS and North America is, or did you mean an actual different publicly traded company?
It's actually going to depend on Palantir. Like they can, and believe it or not, they should probably put the commercial under private with a new name, right? With doing something like a licensing deal with Palantir for the technology, where the R&D is done on the Palantir government side, whatever the main side, where they license the technology from the government, from the government side, but keep the commercial side completely separate. Because the thing is, like, I would think that the best thing the Palantir could do to grow commercial is just scale as much as possible, like scale. Whereas the other government side can build, right? So it's kind of a I don't know, it's a two-tiered approach, but yeah, but you'd really have to like do it in the right way, where the old companies associations get broken, so that this way you don't even think of right now, the minute you say Palantir, the first thing that comes to mind is spyware company. Like that's the impression. If I say Coca-Cola to you right now, you're thinking soda. You're not thinking like anything else. Yeah, you're not thinking cancer. Well, not cancer. Terrible example, by the way. Terrible example. So
are you guys a Coke or Pepsi guy?
I'm a Pepsi guy. I like Pepsi.
You're a Pepsi guy?
I'm Pepsi. My wife is a super Coke person. I'm a Pepsi guy.
I'm a Coke guy, but I have some Pepsi, but I'm a Coke guy. That's the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Chris, are you bullish on Palantir right now?
I'm still bullish because my wife is still buying shares. I mean, I buy a few here and
Yo,
there.
Steven
just to be
asked that
safe.
question with such like pain.
I'm a flip flopper.
She's
No,
just
he's
like,
right.
Chris,
He's
are you
right,
bullish
dude.
on Palantir?
He's so right. Like I'm a flip flopper, bro. I'll fucking flip on a dime. Like Palantir comes with a bad quarter. Fuck you, Carp. I'm out of here, bitches. Bye. You know, like no, just.
So
You know
I'm
what?
really at the point where I just want Q4 to come and Q1 earnings to come so bad.
Bro, I'm a merc.
I want more
I'm a
data.
merc. I'm a
Don't you guys?
mercenary.
No. Hold on, guys.
Yeah.
Guys. Life is about the process. Okay, so like these podcasts, enjoying the process of getting to those earnings. That's what we have to enjoy, not the end, results of the data. That's the fun part about being investors, right?
Oh, 6 months from now is nowhere near the end results of the data, but it's going to give us a much clearer picture about their margins and about what they're doing on the expenses.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Because you guys asked, I'll show you exactly what I have in Palantir right now.
Let's see.
I'll
Let's
put
see
it
how
on
much
I
you
my-
don't.
got.
I don't want to know.
No.
Chris is someone
it's-
though that he'll flip in a second. He sees something he doesn't
Oh,
like,
I-
he does not
oh, I
care.
know.
It's not. It's just I literally have.
Is
This
that
right
Robinhood?
here. Yeah.
Oh, you bought it on Robinhood?
Yeah. It's such an easy thing to do. That's why I just
Chris,
have. Yeah, I just have a
More
credit
calls.
debit spread. Yeah,
Can I
have,
ask you?
Yeah.
Do you have any other? You have to have some other accounts besides Robinhood. Why are you using Robinhood?
No, for options, I use Robinhood because throughout the day, and I can use it on my cell phone very easily. So the other ones right now are being blocked on my like I use Fidelity for most of my other trading and everything else. For my bond portfolio, I use Fidelity, but for options, and especially when I'm at work and I just want to quickly buy something, Robinhood is great. It's very easy,
That's what I'm
Not to
saying.
mention, not to mention, like
Steven,
I said,
you can't be an investor in SoFi and talk about Gen Z and banking and then not get the Robinhood thesis.
Yes, I can.
Which is that it's a good app. No,
It's very easy. I've never owned Robinhood in my life.
No, I would never buy the stock, but like
Yeah.
why I use it, it's easy,
But,
Yeah.
but-
By the
but
way,
once
just
again-
for the people that didn't see, I have about 4 or 5. Let me see. I have 4 credit debit spreads, which means that I have sold $15 calls and I've bought $7 calls that expire in 2025. So literally, I'm up on my position about 10% right now. But basically, it's something that it's a binary trade. Like if it hits, I'll 5x my money. If it doesn't, I lose maybe $1,000.
So back to the Robinhood thing.
Yeah.
Why?
Robinhood is legit, bro. You have to download the app.
First of
and
all,
just
use it. Yeah, Steven, use it before
put
you
$100
start
in it.
knocking
Hold
Play
on.
with it.
I didn't say I didn't have an account. It was the only way I could buy Dogecoin at one point. So
Wow.
I used it.
Oh, hold on a second. The guy who fucking buys Dogecoin is giving us advice on what to use.
Hold on a
Great.
second.
Good job.
No, no,
How much
Yeah, you
Doge
lost
did
all
you get? You got
credibility with your
20,000
no,
in
no, no,
Doge?
no. Hold on. It was a pure shit. If it goes up, great. If not, whatever. Don't give a
I
shit.
expect better from you, Steven. I expect
Yeah,
better from you.
exactly. Be a reason.
Yeah,
person.
at the time I couldn't go play craps at the casino, so that was
At least
next
I
best thing.
wasn't buying Doge. Just remember, guys, this is the guy that buys Doge. Okay, listen to him. Go ahead.
Look at the watch list. Look at how
Look.
cool it is to just find something, click on it, get
I own
information.
XRP too because XRP I actually believe in.
You believe
You
in
should look
crypto?
into it.
You're a crypto guy?
No, I didn't say crypto as a whole. XRP solves a problem with cross-border banking. It's very interesting.
Michael Swetnick, it needs to go to $15
So.
for me to make 5x my money. If it goes to if it's 7 or below, I pretty much will lose my $1,000 investment. If it goes to $8, I'll break even. Well, let me see what my cost base is.
Wait, so Chris, you have $1,000 invested in Palantir. That is
Yeah.
your.
That's nothing. Yeah. My wife is the one with
We
the
have
shares, so-
applications for new people to be on the Palantir Weekly. They are opening tonight. If anyone has more, you have $1,001. You are available to be on the podcast.
Chris, do me a favor. Amit, do me a favor. Just download Thinkorswim, please.
I have Thinkorswim.
Bro,
I've
you keep
used
telling
TD
me to
in the
swim,
past.
and it's
Okay.
cold in New Jersey,
Chris,
and I don't
you
get
have
why you.
Thinkorswim and you still use Robinhood? That's crazy.
Yes, because it's so easy. It's in my phone.
I don't
like,
need to
li-
think before swimming. It's cold. Like I don't understand this.
Yes, it's
argument.
winter. The water's cold the same way the water's wet. I get it.
Look at this website, bro. Look at this website. This website already feels boring. Look at this. What is this? What are we
Listen,
looking
Steve-
at here?
Steven,
Look
if
at
you
the
wanna
font.
get back-
The font's not even exciting.
Steven, if you want to get back on Robinhood, I have a referral code for you. I'll get a free stock. You get a free stock. I'm just saying.
No,
I'm just saying. You know.
Think or
no.
swim.
Listen, I happen to like Think or Swim a lot. It's
They also
very
do.
good.
They also have CNBC Live on there. I used the platform before, right?
Wait, for free? They have CNBC Live free?
Yeah.
Really? I might download
Yeah.
it just for that. That's not too bad.
Tasty
I mean-
trades, everything. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's really good. So, Chris, what'd you think about my crap strategy?
I honestly, I want to back test it. You know, go to Atlantic City for a weekend and just try it. I love just back testing strategies, but I have not found a single strategy in craps or any other game that's going to give you that big of enough of a house edge that's going to see you win big money. Most of the time it's enough to get you a few drinks here and there and maybe a comped room, and that's about it.
Amit, do you go to the casino at all?
I learned how to play blackjack in Vegas, so
Okay.
I know how to do that.
Play
Do you mind
Baccarat.
if Chris and I
Baccarat's
have a
the
quick
fun.
conversation about this?
What'd you say?
Do you mind if we have a quick conversation about
Go ahead.
this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Chris, I just want to run you through it real quick, and then I would love for you to back test.
We could do it another
we
time.
can meet down
This
AC.
is- yeah. it's
So-
like
Chris
when-
has got to go. Chris has got to go.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
gotta go,
Yeah, man.
dude.
I'm a-
Okay, fine. Where are you going?
I'm a young guy and my dick still works, man. I gotta go
Oh
use
my
it.
goodness!
Jesus
what?
Christ, I can't believe you
This
said
is- Chris, leave.
Eventually-
Me and Steven are gonna end it.
You know,
You're done
eventually,
for the night.
eventually, you need, hey, don't you guys want to have a Chris Jr. on this podcast one day? Keep the line
yes,
going?
we do. I hope your wife's
right.
not listening to this right now. Goodness
I'll
gracious.
probably get some
This
shit
is-
about it later, but it's okay.
That's all right. All right, we appreciate you, Chris. Thank you for being
you
on.
later,
Me and Steven will
Chris.
end it off. It's just you
Man,
and me. Look me in the eyes.
these
Tell me that you love
guys-
Robinhood.
I don't. And the reason I can invest in SoFi over Robinhood is because SoFi actually is a 360-degree dynamic product. Robinhood isn't, and
Yo,
I don't. see that it's going
why
to
is
be.
Robinhood not competing with SoFi? Why are they not trying to become a?
How about
bank and
how about
they-
this? And I really shouldn't say this, but why are they not buying SoFi?
Well, Robinhood's only worth like 10 billion. So
At one point, they could have.
yeah.
Why? So I should rephrase it. Why didn't they?
Yeah, man. That's I don't know if SoFi would have wanted to sell, but like
Don't get me wrong. I don't want them to sell. I'm just saying I'm surprised that a Robinhood, when they had so much steam behind them, didn't. You know.
well, when they had Steam, SoFi had Steam, right? When Robinhood was $85, SoFi was
It wasn't the same though.
Yeah. The thing, Robinhood, I'm waiting for them to offer me like Roth IRA, 401ks. Like I love using that app, and everything's just so seamless in there. And
At some point, they're going to have to if they want
gonna
to
have
stay
to.
relevant.
I mean, I started putting my money for this 3.75%, and it's great. Like it's easy. It's like it's awesome.
From that aspect, you can't beat it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't beat those interest rates from that respect. No question about it.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts real quick on this argument. Do you think like a stock twits like platform could be integrated into Robinhood or SoFi and that would explode engagement? I think I asked you this a while ago.
I don't know. I mean,
I think that would explode Robinhood if
I
people
think
could start
with
posting content there.
I think with the younger generation, it would, because everything is engagement. Everything is on a cell phone. You see it with the YouTube channel. I mean, you see it more than anybody with the statistics on your YouTube channel from the algorithm and everything. But when you think about it, there's some real application that it could be beneficial for if you do it right. For it to work, I think it could be as simple as you can follow whoever you want to follow, see what they own, not how many shares or value, but percentage of their portfolio. So if somebody owns 20 stocks, you can see what percentage of the portfolio each stock represents. So take the 13F filings for billionaires. Obviously, you can get that information online. But if you had people had the ability to opt into something like that when they use the platform, and if they hit yes, then their stuff becomes public on the Robinhood app or SoFi app, and only on a percentage basis. So it's not account value. I think you would have people follow people that have a following on Twitter or on YouTube. And I think that that could be a differentiator between a legacy like a Ameritrade or an E-Trade versus these new companies.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been using StockTwits as well. Some people in the chat are saying 70% of StockTwits are bots. I think you guys have to kind of use StockTwits. I know it has a reputation for being like body, which it is, but it's about 6 million engaged, and I think it's even more than that now. That was 2021 people that post content consistently. I mean, they last raised the valuation at 210 million, which I know is not in the billions like SoFi and Robinhood, but content is everything. And when you've got that many people a day posting content
Content's a
around
lot
this
of stuff, and
stuff,
it may be the big differentiator that a company needs, because these legacy systems, I mean, think about it. All these different companies have sign-up bonuses, but how many
Yep.
people are actually moving their money?
yeah. Webull is messaging me every day to get $50 free Tesla to sign up. And I'm just like, I just don't want to. Like, I just don't care.
You know, like I can get a pretty decent sign-up bonus and I haven't moved my money. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm used to Ameritrade. I really like the platform. And if something very interesting came up, I would probably make a new deposit and open up a new account. But I think it's hard to get people off the legacy systems. At least for me, I've been using Ameritrade for God knows how long. It would be very hard for me to leave.
Yeah.
But I do think what you said, the content portion could be huge. I mean, we're seeing, and you look at those statistics that I went over for Gen Z, that could be what they look for when they start buying and selling stocks. Definitely could be. I can see it.
I agree. All right. I think that's it. We ended up being the last two standing, and 2 pods back to back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People run away.
What are you doing tomorrow? Do you have a busy day? You going anywhere tomorrow?
I'm going to try to write 2 articles.
Another 2 articles?
I wrote a SoFi one tonight. I want to do some energy ones. Enbridge increased their dividend again, and Enterprise Product Partners got approval for an export facility. So I want to try to write some stuff about that. We'll see.
All right. If you guys want to follow his articles, @Dividend Streams, his Twitter's in the description. You can check him out on Seeking Alpha. My Twitter's in the description. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate everyone who joined on a Friday night. And we'll see you next week on Palantir Weekly.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.